Welcome to Scriptural Science, a presentation of Truth and Life Institute, Boston, Massachusetts, and Oba, Nigeria. The following is a subsection of the book. Everyone is a Protestant. Written and published by Ifeanyi Chukwujima, scriptural scientist and a servant of God. This subsection's ID is Everyone is a Protestant, Book 4:4. Marriage was designed by God to be the rebirth into God of every man and every woman who chooses to marry. Individual baptisms and marriage are two different relationships within the same covenant of baptism and not two different covenants with God. Individual baptism brings a person into covenant relationship with God as a part of their parents' covenant with God, to remain family with God. And marriage brings a man, his wife, and their entire household into the same covenant relationship with God as a discrete human family in God, jointly committing to remain family with God as a unit. The covenant of circumcision was the same way too. Abraham was brought into covenant relationship with God in Genesis chapter 15 without his wife and family, Genesis 15 verse 8-21. Then, 14 years later, in Genesis chapter 17, Abraham, Genesis 17 verse 9, together with his wife, Sarah, Genesis 17 verses 15-16, and his entire household, Genesis 17 verses 9-14, were brought into the same covenant relationship with God as a discrete human family in God, jointly committing to remain family with God as a unit. A woman's commitment to, throughout her life, remain family with the man she marries is her commitment to God to forever remain family with God, whom the man she marries had committed to remain family with forever. Ephesians 5:22-31. Just the same way children are bound by whatever their parents are bound by until they mature, leave home, and start their own families. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. 2. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise. 3. So that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. For fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. In essence, marriage was designed by God to be the rebirth into God of every man and woman who chooses to marry, a renewal of the covenant which everybody at their birth into their parents' covenant household had with God through their parents. To remain family with God, Genesis 18 verse 19 NV, for I have chosen him, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. Anyone who operates only within their God-assigned authority in their marriage and household and genuinely strives to meet their responsibilities in the marriage and household as commanded by God brings honor to God and his Christ, as well as to the family of God on the earth and in heaven. Roles are defined by authority levels that are assigned by God to every position in the family. In every culture of the world, a woman changes her name at her marriage from her father's name to her husband's name. That is not a human invention or an accident. Rather, it is a divine gift from God to all the peoples of all nations. That name change originated from God, Ephesians 3 verse 15, and not from human ingenuity, hence its universality across the face of the earth. We then see that God never discriminates. He has always treated the Gentiles with the same love he had treated the Israelites, even before the gospel was sent to the Gentiles. The message of the gospel is really simply becoming family with one another and with God. God desires family more than he desires anything else, because family fosters love more than anything else in the world and in the entire universe. At that time, declares the Lord, I will be the God of all the families of Israel, and they will be my people. I will lead them beside streams of water on a level path where they will not stumble, because I am Israel's father, and Ephraim is my firstborn son. How long will you wander, unfaithful daughter Israel? The Lord will create a new thing on earth. The woman will return to the man. I will refresh the weary and satisfy the faint. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Jeremiah 31 verses 1 to 40 NIV. The religious people and academicians have called God's use of family terms like son, daughter, wife, etc. as allegories. They are not allegories. They are God's frantic calls to all human beings everywhere to come home and be family forever with one another and with God. A covenant with God is a commitment that was made by human beings to God to remain family with God forever, abiding throughout one's life with everything God had commanded them. Committing to remain family with God is committing to become and remain family with everyone else who made the same commitment to God to be family with God forever. In the family of God, there are no laws, only love. Love is God's righteousness, which gives freedom to all in the family of God, loving your neighbor as yourself. I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. 11 No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, Know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. Hebrews 8 verses 7 to 13 NIV. Family either succeeds together or fails together. 1 Corinthians 12 verses 12 to 26. Rules, the rule of law, only become necessary in family when love is abused and dysfunction sets in. Galatians 3 verses 17 to 25. Family is a resilient, ever-expanding web of human relationships, which can only be held together by love and humility and never by the rule of law, which comes into family only when there are divisions and disorders, and creates further divisions and disorders for as long as it remains in the family. That is the reason why the Gentile church will never unite until it sets aside law and law enforcement, and turn instead to love and mercy, which Jesus Christ ushered into the world at his sacrifice of his life on the cross at Calvary. To replace the rule of law, which was made obsolete by his physical presence on the earth. Hebrews 8 verse 13. It was the mighty power of Christ's presence on the earth, Galatians 3 verse 24, and not his death on the cross, that obsoleted the rule of law on the earth. Hence, now before faith came, we were confined under the law, kept under restraint until faith should be revealed. 24 So that the law was our custodian until Christ came, that we might be justified by faith. 25 But now that faith has come, we are no longer under a custodian. 26 For in Christ Jesus you are all sons of God through faith. 27 For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ. 28 There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. 29 And if you are Christ's, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to promise. Galatians 3 verses 23 to 29 RSV.